Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are calm, we are local, we are getting through the pandemic. All of our WNST coverage brought to you by our friends at Taharka. I've got old school and new school, chocolate love and honey graham. We're getting it out to you. It's also Chicken Palooza month this month. And if I could just get this guy here for some chicken wings and some Western fries and take his kids over to Costas for some crab cakes and whatnot. Mike Flynn and I have been doing this on radio for a better part of about 23 years. Isn't it crazy that you've been like as big a part of my radio career as anyone? You've been involved in it as long as almost anyone in my life this side of Don Moeller.
Yeah, I mean, how much fun did we used to have at those remotes? For me, free beer and some wings, man, that was like worth its weight in gold.
You were on first contract.
No, but I mean, all kidding aside, though, you look back at, and that was the best part of playing is stuff like that. You're hanging out with the guys. It was usually a Monday night. If there was something after a game, which is always good, I'd bring my family in. We'd do a show and stuff like that. But 23 years, oh my God, man! Thanks for dating me, Nestor.
Dude,
I actually woke up and I felt good today. I got out of bed and I didn't feel that sore, and all of a sudden right away
you look young, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, there's so many things I could talk to you about. Like we've talked once during the pandemic. Your son was on Broadway. You were in New York. Anybody that wants to find that can go find that out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. I mean, you got a wife, you got kids, school, you got a lot of kids. You've got parents that I know and love that are above 65 last I checked. This thing's sort of raging on. And then there's the sports media side of you up in Boston, trying to talk about sports and the Red Sox and make sense of it all. I guess for me, and I really want to give you some love on the Super Bowl video. I mean, I got to get to that. That'll be the encore. We'll play that for Stairway to Heaven at the end. But just from your perspective as a player at this point, because you were a young, poor player, then you were a mid-range player, you never got wealthy, but you were out of the game before that, but you had enough money that if you were 31 and had a kid or two, you'd be deciding whether you were going to fly back to Baltimore and go to Owings Mills. Man, there's a lot going on, I would think, in your brain about this. I just want you to download. Where are you in August of 2020 and all of this, Mike Flynn?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a huge question, right? Where am I now? Just to rewind back to when I was playing, and some of the position that these guys are put in. Realistically, I think it's easier for baseball or basketball to step aside from the game because they do have guaranteed contracts, and there's going to be something on the back end for football players. You know how that works. You don't have that, so. I'm sure and I don't know the exact parameters of it, but there is something in place where you receive money if you need to opt out for a COVID reason. So the guys are protected with that, but some guys aren't. And then, the obvious, when you step away from the game for a year, it goes on, man. It forgets you very quickly. So
Antonio Brown's finding that out, right? Literally. Right?
Yeah, he's finding that out for different reasons, but
he's one of the best players in the game, and you just move on, right? I mean, when
you just move on.
When the kid in Indianapolis says, the number one draft pick, the next everything. When Andrew Luck says, "I'm not doing it anymore," the Colts go play football, right?
They go play football. It's just, I love the NFL, but it is a machine, man. It'll run you over, ground you into the ground, or it'll just pass you, and people forget.
Did you feel that way when you played? Did you realize that when you were 27? Not everybody realizes that, but I think you did, right?
Yeah, well, I realized it pretty early also, too, because I was cut initially from the Ravens. Bounced around on a practice squad in Tampa, got cut before the Ravens got smart and brought me back, Nestor,
Jim Coletto and Brian. I'll have Brian on a a little later today. I'll make sure that he...
Well, no, it was before. It was Ted. Ted brought me back. It was probably more
But Brian saw the vision of Ted.
Yes. But, me in that situation, especially the first 3 or 4 years of my career, I would make it work because professionally I would think I would have to, right? I mean, whether I had a newborn, whether I had parents with conditions, it's something that I would have to make work, these guys, some of these guys that opt out, maybe they just don't have a choice because they are too close or, they're a little bit more secure. But, yeah, it's tough. I mean, I respect anybody that opts out of football. I mean, man, when you could walk away and give up a huge payday. I'm sure they get something, but they have a reason for it. But yeah, it's a tough decision. I'm just guessing now. I don't know what my context would have been back there, but thinking of myself at 23, 24, 25, I feel like there's no way I don't play. But that's a decision. It's an individual thing that everybody has to make.
Mike Flynn is here, the main event, one-time center of your world champion Super Bowl 35. How soon they forget Mike Flynn. But the video did come, and I will be rolling myself under the bus by the end of this segment. But while we stay on the topicality and sort of the seriousness of all this, like you got kids going back to school. I know you to be relatively centrist politically, maybe like independent more than, more doubting Thomas about various things. But for you, your parents, and where you are in your real life, and your kid getting his Broadway career literally shut down in the middle of all of this, and now we're trying to figure out school. Where's your community on all of this, and where are you on all this?
Well, I think we're trying to get. I think we can all agree that the kids going back to school, the idea of it is important. That's the biggest thing I found with my kids, and I'm sure a lot of other families that have kids is they do not. With this pandemic, I don't think a lot of them have adjusted well. I mean, with the remote learning, because I think as a parent we all have a new appreciation of teachers, but we won't do a good job of it. And by the way, a lot of us work, and a lot of us don't have that time. But the academic side of it, certainly. I mean, it's pretty clear that not having kids in school hurts. But I think it's just a social aspect. I have 4 boys, and they have each other, but still I have 2, my oldest ones. I have a set of twins, and they just entertain each other constantly. But the other ones, they miss their social circle, and they've struggled with it. Adults, we understand the situation. We could learn to live with it and adjust, but it's tough for them. So I think there's a lot of value to school, but the safety, how, what, when, where, all that kind of stuff. It needs to be a plan in place. I like to see them go to school. Right now, I think we're looking at, in my area, best case on 2 days, off 3, to limit the number of kids in school. But I'm sure that's different because I live near towns that are cities. Lynn, Mass, and you're talking 2,000-3,000 kids in a school. So how could they? I don't think they even have the ability to go. Every other day because they just have too many kids.
Well, that's the thing I'm thinking. Like the Ravens are open in their place, and it looks like a Willy Wonka, Mike TV episode over there, right? Like everybody's getting rubbed down on the way in, rubbed down on the way out. And the NFL has billions of dollars at stake here, right? To get these 53 guys literally to the horse track, to the gate at 1 o'clock, ring the bell, and they've got a lot of money at stake. When it comes to our kids, and when it comes to your mother maybe being a librarian, at this point in her life, or, working in a school or wherever it would be, working anywhere, working in a meat factory for crying out loud, wherever other people breathe, right, and move about in our society where there is a raging virus, right? We see this every day. I shudder to think at what makes us safe, right? Like, other than our own good discretion to stay the hell away from people, wear a mask, not touch stuff, Purell up. The science part of it for people like you and me. You went to school, Mike, so you get the science that it is a pathogen. You accept that. There is a segment of the audience that does not accept that, which is, shame on them. They should have had a better education. I don't know what else to say. But when it comes to keeping people safe and how much money is invested in Major League Baseball, what the NBA has done to bring everybody under a bubble, the amount of testing that they're taking away from the rest of society to put these games on. And Mike, I got to be honest, man, you're a sports guy. I'm a sports guy. It's the reason we're probably in rock and roll and Pearl Jam all these years later, and Def Leppard and whatever else. But all the sports stopping has been freaky for me, having fed my family doing this for 35 years. I know you're in the sports media business as well, in a sports rabid place like Boston, that everything shuts down the way it has. But for me, baseball and what happened with the Marlins, and they are literally at the hotel a block away from me right now, Mike, literally. Yeah. They've been here this week. I don't know who drove the bus back to Florida. The Cardinals have COVID. For the amount of money that that society is spending to sort of vet the disease, the schools have no ability to do that, right? So, and it's failing with Major League Baseball because Following the rules, I've called it like safe sex, right? Like it's an all the time, everywhere, all the time thing that most people are like, I'm sort of done with it. It's August. I did that back in March and April. I washed my hands then. I'm not going to now. The concerns I have are professionally for sports that football is starting this, and I don't feel like it's a good idea because I don't really think they can end it with any integrity. And I'm watching the Orioles get their ass beat this week. 18 guys went on the DL for the Marlins. They signed 18 guys off the street and still beat the Orioles 3 times in their own ballpark and swept them on Wednesday. And I'm thinking to myself, where's the integrity in a league that now won't have half of its players, right? And the offensive line of the Chiefs will get sick in October.
Yep.
And I think our whole country's looking to sports that if baseball and football had to Rudy Gobert this and shut this down October 4th, right? This is really sticky for me, dude. I'm having a hard time all the way around with this.
I'm with you in the fact, realistically, we know why they're doing it. It's for money. It's not to give the masses entertainment. It's for money that they can make their money. But, I don't find it that it's real sports, the basketball in a bubble.
It's not entertaining to me, bro.
It's not entertaining. You're taking passion away from the game. You're taking fans out of the game. That's a big part of it, the shortened season in baseball. We'll see how football plays out and, if they could function with this coronavirus that's still in the air. I doubt it.
You doubt it. You sit here right now in August and say, they're out there running around, and if you were a player, you'd be out there running around. But
I find it hard because they, similar to baseball, they will not be in a bubble. And, you can get it from another family member. Are you going to be disciplined enough to, and it's not, going out to eat and getting takeout. It's going out to meet friends. It's seeing family members that aren't, don't have their bubble, that aren't wearing masks, so it's inevitable it's going to happen and it spreads, so, sports are definitely different than businesses and schools and trying to make it work. Certainly, we had the quarantine was to flatten the curve, which in some places it has. It was never to stop coronavirus because it isn't. It's always going to be here, unfortunately, until there's a vaccine. So there has to be a way to live with it that we could be productive and,
educate our children.
Educate our children. Have an economy that moves. And I'm not saying that it's not the sacrifice of people. I'm not saying that all, but realistically, we need to move on and find a way because it is not going anywhere. It never was. I think there was this idea that the quarantine was going to stop coronavirus, and it never was because it's always going to be here until there is some sort of, vaccine. But, I'm with you. I think to me, the mask, I wear the mask when I am out of my house. I see people not wearing the mask, and it doesn't make sense to me. It's a very simple thing that we could all do. It's proven that helps a lot. You know what I mean? So
if I'm within 20 feet of anyone, I've had a mask on. You know what I mean? Like, have I walked through the harbor with my wife without? Yes, because there's nobody around. There's nobody anywhere.
Yeah,
right?
If I leave my house, I bring my mask, and if I am within near anybody that isn't in my bubble, I wear the mask, And
I've been outdoor, dining at State Fair, and when the server comes over, I have the mask on, man. We've done a few things.
But it legitimately works, and yet, it's one of the simplest things we can do to at least, keep this thing in reasonable numbers so we can, still function as a society. But I'm with you, the sports part of it. I honestly don't even watch much, because in terms of, my media with our stations and financially what's going on up here, I haven't really worked much. And I try to watch some of the basketball, and it just doesn't appeal to me. It just kind of lost. I've been trying to watch the hockey.
Dude, the hockey's the worst, right? Like, my wife had it on Sunday. Like everything you love about hockey is the rise and the fall of the crowd and the energy of it all. And they're playing on a sheet of ice in a plastic bag, man.
It's just. It's soulless. That's kind of my description of it.
Yes.
It's soulless.
Yes.
And, the idea of football coming back is because everybody loves it. It is the most loved sport, the highest rated. It's great. And it's this idea if that comes back, we can, you think of college football, but it's not going to be like we envision it. And when we see this product, it's kind of like going to maybe a training camp practice. Like, I'd imagine that's what it would be like, right? Because I think I saw something, I got an email, the Ravens are going to let maybe 14 or 20,000 people in. It's going to be a weird feeling. So that'll be kind of solace in itself. But in terms of how's it going to work, I just don't know. The bubble makes sense to me, but NBA has, 10 guys, some coaches. It's easy to do. Baseball didn't have a bubble, and look what's going on. And now football is going to even more people. I mean,
you play football, dude. Is there any chance that the random Earl Thomas, side piece thing, like all the guys you've ever played with, of every denomination, belief system, whatever, the notion that they really believe that these 24-year-old guys are not going to be being 24-year-old. I mean, I've been around this forever, Mike. I mean, and now that I'm 52 and around guys that are 22, I mean, I feel lost to it all, right? Like the way they speak to each other, the vernacular. But more than that, not just that I'm a media guy or at this point an old white guy or, whatever it is, I have zero confidence that these guys are going to take this as seriously as they need to, because most of them have been pampered all their lives, most of the star players, they've always had a separate set of rules. I mean, like...
but young guys are young guys, right? They need to live. And, they play a game, they're going to go out and celebrate, and they're going to be social, and I'm sure they have a lot of people there, and that's just the way it is. But I think of in a football locker room, right? How close quarters you are in meeting rooms, and I mean, I'm sure they have all these. Well, maybe they don't. I don't know what their safety procedures are. I know there was some issue that they didn't have much written down, but think about it: one or two guys on a 53-man roster plus practice squad. If it could spread that quick in baseball, how quickly could it spread in football?
Oh, I shudder. I mean, I've been thinking about this for months, and they've just acted pretty arrogantly as they do, like, we're going to do this. And
I also think, too, it's just, in baseball, for example, if you lose your two best starting pitchers, well, you're probably going to suck. But maybe you find a gem, maybe you move on, you win a couple games, you get teams, during the week or whatever, but if you're the Ravens and you lose Lamar Jackson, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain premium positions on every team that are irreplaceable, and if you lose, you get crushed. Tom Brady with the Bucks and Russell Wilson with the Seahawks. What happens if they get it? And what happens if they're two starting? What if they're? You would assume if Lamar Jackson gets it, Robert Griffin's going to get it. That whole room's going to get it. So. I love football. I want to play. I'm a high school coach. I'm a youth coach, and I'd do anything just to get these kids on the field.
But I won't do that.
I am pessimistic about it.
It feels to me, man, and I've been saying this all week, and maybe it's the old guy in me. Watching this thing and watching. A prick like Rob Manfred. You know what I mean? Like, remembering who he was 20 years ago when he was that Chihuahua lawyer in the middle of all the, yelling at the players and all of that. And all those players are gone now. They're our age and whatever. And I watched the soulless Robert Krafts and Jerry Joneses and, and where they put their support. And I think to myself, this is a no matter what, right? Like, I had John McClain on earlier this week, the venerable, 45 years covered football in Houston. And he said, until someone dies, they're going to play. And I'm thinking to myself...
Why should that surprise you, though? I mean, it doesn't mean, like, the NFL has always been about money. That's what makes it turn. That's why people want to get into it. That's why they have Thursday night games and Sunday night games. That's why they play in London. So,
dude, nothing surprises me. I watched the team leave my city in 1984, and I watched us grovel around for 12 years.
You're talking about the purity of the game, and that's expected. It's about money, and that's why they're going to try to play. Now, the question is, how far do they get?
And what would stop them? That's my that's my issue now, that if 18 out of 30 players and reversing the schedule and playing 7-inning games, like the integrity's gone for baseball, right? I mean, if there ever was any integrity, right, from steroids and wherever you want to put it, the Astros and players wired and banging on trash, wherever that integrity, wherever the integrity of Bill Belichick with monkeys and trees with cameras, right? Even last year on the sidelines in the Cincinnati game, like cheating, like Harbaugh having illicit practices that nobody's going to tell the Players Association about all the time, right? So, like, wherever the edge is for these guys, 18 out of 30, the Cardinals, Freddie Freeman in the hospital, Eduardo Rodriguez's heart exploding, whatever, right? Like, baseball's going to play. So they're at no matter what, because that's who they are and that's where their leadership is. And they'll always have some Ryan Mountcastle that's trying to get paid and start his clock, some young Mike Flynn trying to impress some young Brian Billick, right? So that'll always be there. There's the no matter what now. Dude, I don't think they care if the Packers make it to post Week 8. They'll just tack it onto the back of the schedule. I'm surprised baseball didn't forfeit games like Little League, Like, I thought if you couldn't play, you would just forfeit the game and we'd move on. And that's how the Orioles would get 40 wins this year,
Well, then they also, I just saw, correct me if I'm wrong, that doubleheaders are going to be 6 innings? Or was
Seven.
It
They played a 7-inning doubleheader here on Wednesday, Mike. And the Orioles couldn't score until the 13th inning. The Orioles scored one run in 23 innings against a team that had 18 guys with the plague.
Well, here's what I will say, though. Like, with baseball,
this isn't baseball.
And I know
there's no integrity, man.
You're goofing on the Orioles, and certainly they're not a great baseball team. But the Marlins lose a bunch of players. You could throw a team out there that can win a game and steal some games. I feel if the Baltimore Ravens lose 20 of their top 50 guys, who do they beat if somebody gets hurt? You know what I mean?
Well, Shane Falco is what we're going to be left here with. Really?
The question would be, I'm on the call-up list. so maybe that's what I want. I mean,
you're on the Ravens reserves.
The veteran minimum is like $1 million now, Nestor. You know what I mean? The checks aren't coming in like they used to.
Yeah, man, that's what, $80,000 a game check or something.
Oh my God, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
That's $10,000 a day this week. Mike Flynn is here. He's the main event. You can follow him at Flynn985. He is in Massachusetts. He's trying to figure out how to get his kids educated. You're missing out on teaching football. Let's go happy talk at the end of this, because you and I did the parade together. And, here's the weird part, Flinner. I'm going to sit here and watch this. McLean says, come on down to Houston week 2. I'll take you out. We'll socially distance. I'm thinking, why am I getting on an airplane and flying to Houston? I can't talk to any players. I'm going to sit at the top of Reliance Stadium for no one and stay at the Hyatt in Houston. Like, I can't get down with this, right? But I'm thinking, all right, we got the best team, so they're going to play. You and I just said they're going to play, and if Lamar doesn't get it, and the Ravens are more buttoned up than most organizations top to bottom to begin with and better led, so if there's a team that stands a lesser chance of getting it, I would put a nickel on the Ravens. But then again, Doug Peterson popped 30 this week, so who the hell knows, right? But now they win, right? And they're 13-3, and there's going to be playoffs, and there's not going to be a parade, right? I mean, we're not all getting on buses and going to Tampa for the Super Bowl. So I'm trying to figure out what it means when they start winning games and I have no one to high five beyond my wife, right? Like, and no locker room to go into and no live shows to do and no nothing, right? I'm trying to adjust to this. But the parade of 01, that's what it's all about, dude. Like, you sent me that tape after losing it for 19 years. The day I got it, I kid-gloved it. I gave it to Greg Landry, who did my wedding in 2003 and has all the machines that turn this crazy little tape into magic. So you have not seen the video yet, or did you watch the little clip I put up?
When I found it before I sent it to you, I sent some of it. But I did not watch, from beginning to end. But then again, though, too, I don't like watching or hearing myself. And I could imagine, I was pretty sure. I was definitely hungover. But I wasn't quite sure if I was drunk when we went on that parade ride. So, that was probably sure some of my hesitation.
Dude, you were. So here's where it is. Let me.
That was the beauty of when we played. We didn't have cell phone videos. Cameras just kind of started late a little bit, so we were protected from a lot of our buffoonery. So my thought was, why on earth would I give the biggest loudmouth in Baltimore a parade tape of me drunk and flopping around the whole thing. But you said it wasn't that bad, right?
No.
Yeah.
I was very concerned, in general, about how the whole thing would come off, and so let me run you through the video, because the video is an hour long. Okay, so you had your handheld camera, and I'm going to put the whole thing up with your permission, because Kenzie Boulware wants it. A lot of your teammates, Billy Davis, a lot of guys want it. Because they didn't have the cameras that day, and I don't know whether they didn't think about it or the battery or all of you were hungover. I mean, it was a Tuesday morning after you won the Super Bowl. I mean, Dilford spent the day at Disney World, so the tape begins before I get there with you, with Aaron Cashman and Kevin Byrne, and you're just saying we won. There's a lot of you going, woo, 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 woo. A lot of Ric Flairing going on, just to give you that, right? And so you're holding it up, and when I found you, somehow you turn the tape off, and the next time it's on, I'm holding the camera, and you're on WNST doing radio. Like you were doing the morning show, right? Like you were checking in, doing a little 6-8 minute piece. So I have a video of you. I don't have the other end. I'm sure I do somewhere else. But of all the things you were saying about how it made you feel and your family, and it was very emotional. It was sweet. It was nice.
That's
it was your radio thing, right? So then we began, and I wound up on it. And we don't have the part where Billick came over, but we don't have the part where Billick told me I should get in the parade. But we do have the part where, like, you invited me onto the float. Spencer was there. Pat Johnson was there. Kim Herring was there. Trent Dilfer was on the float in front of us. Kyle Richardson was around somewhere. So all of these people are in the video, and all I could do when I saw it was smell the gas. Do you remember how gassy the parking lot was when you got there? Like that, I remember the fumes of it all. And when it got started, we're holding the camera, and the damnedest thing happened. 2 minutes into the parade route, Flinner, the camera got drenched, and the video's like awful for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God. Whole tape is going to be manure, But like a miracle, right when we turned the corner at the convention center, I think you took your shirt and you noticed it and you wiped it off, and the camera's clean the next 51 minutes. So I got to tell you, dude, when I'm 8 minutes into this thing and it blurred up, I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, this thing's trash.
Maybe that would have been a better story, though. I think that's a better story. You waited all those years, and then it's just a jip.
Oh, man, it was so it got cleared up, and then it just became like magic. Like, I don't even want to spoil it for you, dude. Like, the hair on the back of my neck. No, you said
it to me, and I'll watch it with the boys. And it's funny, I was watching this. Our Super Bowl was on the NFL Network.
Yeah, they did a Zoom. I saw Ed Militalo. A lot of guys were in the Zoom.
Yeah,
right?
And I taped it, and I sat down and watched it with my twins. And one of them was like, "Oh, what are we watching that?" I said, "Oh, it's the Ravens Super Bowl in 2000."
How old's your boys?
My youngest are 7.
7, okay.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I played in this game. And my twin Michael said, "You played in this game?" I'm like, what do you mean, yeah? Like, so it's getting to the point that my brother-in-law had the best line to me a couple of days ago. He goes, "You haven't played so long, people forget you played." I go, "The worst part is you're getting so far removed, you're forgetting you played." And I was just like, oh, yeah, I played in that game again. And I showed him on the screen. It was awesome, which, for me, having kids later and meeting my wife was the best thing for me. But I could see, some of these guys that have kids and could share that experience and probably was pretty cool. But thank God for replays and video and all that kind of stuff. So certainly sitting down and showing this video, it'll be pretty cool.
Well, I have it, and it's going to be in your Dropbox, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you take some pictures or some video, or next time we get together, I have a funny story from Michael or any of your kids about their dad playing in the Super Bowl and winning a ring. And have they seen do they know about your ring? Or, like, I mean, if your 7-year-olds really didn't know, you haven't had that talk with them yet?
No, not really. I mean, they know I've played, and my 7-year-old wears 62, but I don't think maybe they don't put it all together all the time, whereas my older two do.
Okay.
Jake was born when I was playing. He was around for a couple of years. I mean, he was 2. I mean, he doesn't remember it, but we have pictures and stuff like that. And my 11-year-old now today. It's his birthday today. Joe's birthday today.
Happy birthday,
really
Joe.
into it. Hey, Joe. But the little guys know. But twins, if you ever been around them, and now that I have for going almost 8 years, they're nuts. They're their own little world. And, but it was pretty cool, to see his reaction to that. And then the fact that I actually played was pretty cool.
All right, well, this video will destroy you. You know what I mean? Like, it's fantastic, and the energy of it and the people and the humanity and the things you said and the things that I said. At one point, you held the camera on me, and I've forgotten that you had even done that. Like, literally, I forgot that. I remembered holding the camera on you on Gay Street as we got up on City Hall. I didn't remember that you had held the camera up on me right at the Inner Harbor. So I put that 1 minute of what I said up, and I haven't put anything else up. But the stuff on the stage, you were holding the camera in the back on the stage. That's outrageously special. I mean, you have like Art and David and Brian and, stuff that was going on. Goose up on the stage with his kids. That stuff, the tape gets better. You will want to stay with it. I promise you that.
Cool.
Love you, Flinner. Stay safe.
You too,
Wash
buddy.
your hands, okay? Give Mary my best. All the kids, happy birthday to Joe. Did we leave anything out? I mean, at all? Or are we good?
No, we always head-to-toe conversation, man. We got everything today, I think.
Dude, I can't even give you – I mean, for 19 years I've given you like a hard time on the way out the door and saying, find the tape, send the tape. The tape,
nothing now.
The tape was worth it. Now it's you should say to me, send the crab cakes. Send the babysitter.
My threshold is 19 years. That's what it takes me to finally to get annoyed.
19's a special number in Baltimore. Johnny Unitas. Think about
I know.
that. All right? See you, Flinner.
All right, buddy.
Stay
Talk
safe.
to you.
Mike Flynn, the main event, Flynn 985, number 62 in your program, number 1 in your heart, number 1 in my heart because he sent the video. If you have not seen the video, ask and you shall receive. I'll share it again. And at some point, maybe the next time I get together with Flynn, I'd love to Zoom it and watch the video with him. That would be a lot of fun because I don't know if you know this or not. There's nothing quite like a Super Bowl parade. Of all the things I've done in my life, I would say the Super Bowl parade, birth of my child, marriage, things, very, very memorable things you do in your life. Riding in the float on the Super Bowl parade in 2001 was incredible, and I had no pictures of it because it was raining that day. Literally, I had one foggy little picture that someone sent me of Flynn and I on top of the float when we went by, wearing my Raven old school flying bee hard hat. And now I have the whole video. And it's just as embarrassing and funny and poignant and awesome as you can possibly imagine it to be. So I'm going to share the whole thing with Mike Flynn's permission at some point. There's nothing really too weird in there. It was a lot more, it wasn't even PG-13. It was almost like G-rated. It was like a Disney presentation, Flynn. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. I am out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. We're merging WNST.net with Baltimore Positive. When we put it all together, it'll be smooth, just like the Honey Graham ice cream at Taharka is. Stay with us. More ahead.